And now I'd like to call on Max Metcalf, Manager of Government and Community Affairs for BMW, to introduce our keynote speaker. Max.
Thank you, Ross. My good friend Roy Shamlett from Michelin used to always hate following Bobby on a program because he'd say, "You got cars, we got tires." It's hard to follow Bobby anytime, but especially talking about our colleague Bunny, who one time, actually on numerous occasions, when after Bobby had left to go to Commerce, Bunny and I would be at different events, Roberta, Amber, and others. They said, "Well, what's the biggest difference since Bobby's left?" And we said, "Well, the staff meetings are a lot shorter." But that was a great tribute tonight. I appreciate the team that put the video together. It's an honor for me to get to introduce your keynote speaker tonight, Jim Newsome, the President and CEO of the Ports Authority. I don't need to read the bio on Jim. It's in your program. However, I do want to make some comments about what a great leader and an individual he is. You may not know it, but Jim was just recently named the Public Servant of the Year for 2014 by the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce, a recognition that was well-deserved but humbly accepted by Jim as well. He is quick to point out that any recognition that he has received has only been possible because of the values that were instilled in him from his parents and also by the tremendous quality team that he has at the Ports Authority, as well as an exceptional board and partners throughout the state. With that, I do want to recognize tonight two of the members of the Ports Authority team that are here. Jack Ellenberg, please raise your hand. Jack's right here. And Michael Huffman. Michael is the director of the Inland Port in Greer. I'm delighted to have both of them with us tonight. Jim has led a resurgence in growth of the business metrics that ports are measured by and that what determines their success. The port is stronger and its impact on our state is more widespread than ever before in an extremely positive way. And nowhere is that more apparent than Greer, South Carolina. And believe me, I know because of the impact and the partnership that BMW has with the State Ports Authority. There are dozens of companies like it in this area that cannot have the success that they currently achieve without having a partner that understands business and global gateways. In 2013, the Ports Authority expanded its presence in our state right into the community of Greer with the opening of the new inland port. It took true leadership, it took true commitment to make that inland port a reality in working with people in Greer and throughout the state of South Carolina. It's that accomplishment, along with so many others such as successful funding for the Harbor Deepening Project, the investment in new equipment, it's actually state-of-the-art equipment, in every port terminal in South Carolina, and including a new terminal that's being developed in North Charleston. This takes excellent management skills and courage. In introducing Jim Newsome to you, I present to you a man who is that kind of leader with strong values and belief in who we are as a community in Greer and who we are as a state in South Carolina. Please welcome my good friend who is a fan of the color orange like me, even though it's a little faded shade in a checkerboard end zone in Knoxville, Tennessee, Jim Newsome, the President and CEO of the Ports Authority.
Thanks, Max, for that great introduction, and thanks to all of you for having me here tonight. And I would also like to really express my appreciation and sympathy to Buddy Richardson's family for that wonderful tribute. It was very inspiring and sort of moving to watch. So I was never supposed to work in South Carolina. I can just tell you that as a fact. I'm from Savannah, Georgia. My dad was with the port there. The chances of me running the South Carolina Ports Authority were about 0%. But you never say always, and you never say never. And you know, I was fortunate enough to get the job 5 years ago, and I'm very grateful for Max's remarks. And I think the most important thing that he said is that we have a very good team in the port. It's a team sport. We work together every day, and I think we've accomplished a lot, but we still have a lot to do. And I was sitting with my wife over the holidays, and you know, I was talking to her about my career and being in container shipping, and I said, you know, honey, I said, I bet in your wildest dreams you never thought that, you know, we would have all the opportunities that we have had. And she looked at me in only the sobering way that a wife can look at a husband. She said, honey, you were never in my wildest dreams. So that was the reality check that you need in the holidays, right? But I have to start by saying I'm very grateful to this community. It's always a pleasure to be here. I think the Upstate is the business hub of South Carolina. The people here understand business, and we've got this done because of the commitment of the people in this area, basically. So I'll always be eternally grateful for what the Upstate meant to us in this project and what the Upstate means to the port overall. So I really have two parts of this presentation. One is to tell you about the port generally, and then one is to focus more specifically on what we have accomplished together in Greer. So I've got some slides. I'm not sure you'll see everything on it. I won't cover every point on the slides, but I hope that you'll find it interesting. So the one key metric in a fixed cost business like the port is that you have to grow. And fortunately, we have been growing rather rapidly in the port. We are, first of all, in the best market in the country to be a port. The southeastern U.S. is the best place to be a port. Very simply for two reasons. Because population is growing in the southeast. That's what drives imports. And we're manufacturing in the southeast in big amounts, basically. There's a lot of manufacturing investment, BMW, Michelin, the other companies in this area. So we're in a very good port market. We grew 8% in fiscal 14 versus fiscal 13. And we've grown 15% in our first half fiscal year 15 versus fiscal 14. So that's well above the U.S. port market. And what I say to our team is it's really a good thing that we're doing that. But to be very clear, we have to do this for a number of years to come to be successful. So we've made a good start in our growth plan, but we have a long way to go. So the second thing is really a calendar year. We do measure normally in fiscal year, but this is a calendar year chart back to 2000. And something that we're very proud of that in calendar 2014, we exceeded 1 million pier containers. For the first time in a long time. We had a record year in 2005, just over 1.1 million containers. We lost a lot of volume, you know, down to 2009, under 700,000 pier containers. So we're growing again. We're back over 1 million containers. And this was one of my initial goals when I joined the port, to get back over 1 million containers and really to reestablish ourselves as one of the premier ports in this country. Because I think you will all agree with me, a state with a great port in an era of global sourcing and global manufacturing has a chance to be really successful. So it is important that we grow. And just to continue that theme for a second, we basically have grown in the last 5 years twice the U.S. port market. So we grew 52%. The U.S. port market grew about 25%. So the way we really look at our growth is that we need to grow twice the U.S. port market. The U.S. port market grows 3%. We need to grow 6%. We're not doing that, we're not being successful. So growth is very critical. What drives the port today is the deployment of big ships. And I'm from the ocean container shipping industry, so I never worked in a port before I took this job. And I have to tell you that I never thought that we would see the size of ships that we're seeing today, and no one really did. This was an unforeseen trend that's happening very quickly. And you can look at it sort of in trade segments. So the biggest east-west trade in the world for containers is the Asia-Europe trade. And today the standard of ship size for that trade is over 18,000 20-foot equivalents, 18 to 20,000 20-foot equivalents. To give you some perspective, we see really big ships in our harbor today. The biggest ship that we've ever seen in our harbor is 9,500 TEUs today. So you're seeing ships today that are twice the size that we see today in our harbor. So that's the standard in the Asia-Europe trade. What that causes to happen is smaller ships, which are still very big ships from a traditional perspective, will come to the United States. So we're going to see is the workhorse size of ship in the East Coast U.S. trade to Asia and Europe between 8 and 13,000 TEU ships. So these ships are massive. They require a tremendous investment in port facilities, and as Max mentioned, they require deepening our harbor, and we'll talk a bit about that. So this trend is unprecedented. The first 8,000 TEU ship was probably conceived and built in the year 1998 or so. And now, by the time the Panama Canal is widened in 2016, there'll be more ship capacity in the world, container ship capacity, that's too big to go through the Panama Canal than otherwise, basically. So about 60% of the world's ship capacity will be too big to go through the Panama Canal. It's an unprecedented trend. And we illustrate that maybe a little more pertinently for you with this slide. So what you'll see, the little speck, if you can see it, that's a BMW X5, which is near and dear to our heart because BMW exports about 800 of those a day through our ports, a very important piece of our business. Then you see the Boeing 787 plane there. If you've been to Charleston, you know the aircraft carrier Yorktown. That's pretty big in itself. Then you see a 9,000 TEU ship there, which is the size of ship that is the biggest ship that we handle today. And then we're preparing and investing to handle 14,000 TEU ships. That's a massive ship. It's just over 1,200 feet long. It's 167 feet wide. It tests every dimension of a port. Depth, air draft, overreach of cranes, things of that nature. And just kind of one of those needless facts that would never happen. If this ship was full of Adidas shoes, there would be 70 million shoes in that ship. I don't imagine that will ever happen, but anyway, it's an interesting fact. So to accommodate these ships, we have to deepen our harbor. And I'm proud of many things that we've done in our port, but the thing that I'm perhaps as proud of, besides the inland port, the thing that I'm very proud of is our deepening project. Because we are the first harbor to actually do a deepening project fast. And you may say, well, what's fast in the world of harbor deepening projects? Well, fast is doing a study in 4 years. So I'm not kidding. I mean, there are other studies that it has taken 20 years to do. If you look at the Port of Savannah, it's taken 20 years to deepen the harbor. So we will complete our study in 4 years. It's a very good study. The catalyst of that study, and I'm glad to see our legislators here tonight, the catalyst for that study, for the progress of that study, was the fact that our state legislature took the proactive stance of putting $300 million aside in the bank account in 2012 so we could tell the Army Corps of Engineers that we would fund this project, and it was going to happen without any doubt. So that's a critical step. So our study will be, and you may have read a couple of weeks ago that we did conclude a very significant deal with a major conservation interest in this state, which means that they will support this project. And what it means is the study will be done, and we'll have a chief's report concluding the study by September 2015, and we will have the deepest harbor on the U.S. East Coast by the end of 2019. And that's a major accomplishment for us because we're going to add 7 feet to the depth of our harbor. And 7 feet of draft on a post-Panamax ship is equivalent to the ability to load between 1,000 and 1,200 additional loaded containers. So I can't really overemphasize the importance of this deepening project. It's critical for the region, and it's very critical for our state. Because we are an exporting region. So what's the thing that makes me lay awake at night? Well, my wife would tell you not much. But if anything makes me lay awake at night, it's this slide here. So to keep up with the big ship development, to support the growth of trade, import and export-wise, to handle the new dimensions of ships, we have to invest a lot of money. And I think it's very important to note that the port has its own investment responsibility. We have our own bond rating with Moody's and Standard & Poor's. We have to invest in our own assets. We have to make profit to do that, to be able to borrow, or we cannot invest. But but we have a very good partner in the state. So the way it works, the port builds the inside defense infrastructure, new terminals, cranes, equipment, things of that nature. The state helps us on outside defense infrastructure, harbor deepening, access road to the new terminal at the former Navy base, dual-served intermodal container transfer facility, which the Commerce Department is working on. So between the two of us, we're investing $2 billion in the next 10 years. That is an outsized investment for a port our size. But it is an investment we have to make to be a player in the U.S. and global container business. And I think it's an investment that, which will be very successful when it's realized. You see in this chart the amount of money that we invested in the inland port. It was $50 million. We'll talk in a little detail about that here shortly. So this is our biggest challenge, is realizing our capital plan in a timely fashion. And really what we say is that by the end of this decade, our harbor needs to be deepened, and the first phase of the new Navy-based terminal needs to be in operation for us to be successful. So we don't have a lot of margin for error in doing this. We have really to meet our growth targets, our profitability targets, to make this a reality. So something that I'm very proud of, that we all should be very proud of, and I was actually quoted, we had our board meeting yesterday, and I was quoted in the Post and Courier, and I said something I didn't think would get a lot of attention, but got a lot of attention on the matter. And what I said was, of the top 10 container ports in the U.S., 7 of them work terribly, and 3 of them work reasonably well. Well, the good news is that we are the one that works the best today in the United States. Something we should be very proud of. We're the most cost-effective. We have the most reliable ability to handle ships in and out fast. Better than any port in North America. And in a time when you all read the newspaper, I mean, you see a lot of discussion about economic growth being impacted, about the slowdown in West Coast ports and things of that nature. So the Southeast ports work reasonably well today, and we work the best. And again, it's something, because we have good equipment, but you all know, being in business, business is not about equipment. Business is about people. Business is about the commitment and dedication of people. And we happen to have really good people in the maritime community in Charleston that make this reality. So what does that look like? What do you mean that you're productive and fast? Well, the sort of the gold standard for a port like ours is to be able to handle a ship with 2,000 container moves on and off the ship in less than 24 hours pilot to pilot. So from the time the pilot boards the ship, we work the ship at the dock, we handle 2,000 container moves, that takes 5 cranes to do it, then they drop the pilot off. That ship should be in and out in less than 24 hours. That's exceptional. Most ports cannot do that. So we do that because we have the most productivity in U.S. ports today. So it's something that we have to keep in place. And again, why does it work? It's a funny story, because when you tell people, well, the most productive ports in the United States are public sector operated ports, they look at you like you're crazy, because how could the public sector do anything efficiently, basically, right? But the reality of life is the ports that are challenged today are the landlord ports that have franchise operations, that have a high union content and things of that nature, and it makes them less efficient. So we're in a good situation. We need to keep this situation in place to assure our success. Just another commentary on our investments. So we have today a $900 million balance sheet. By the time we finish investing, we will have close to a $2 billion balance sheet, $1.8 billion balance sheet. We don't earn enough money today to support that. So one of the other initiatives that we have is getting our rates up. And we're doing that in one tranche now here in 2015. We've renegotiated our contracts with some revenue improvements, and we'll do it again in 2017. Why 2017? Because that's when the Panama Canal is widening. That's when the Bay Bridge is being raised in New Jersey. That's when we think the big ships will need to come to Charleston to need our services. So we feel confident about being able to raise our rates. We are very much dependent on truckers. And I don't know if there are any truckers in the room here, but every container that moves is touched somehow by a truck. container can come by rail to Greer, it still has to get on a truck to get to BMW or get somewhere else. The folks that truck containers are mainly entrepreneurs. A lot of people don't realize that. They own a truck. They put a placard up the side in the morning to come to work. They earn a share of the revenue. If they don't get turned around quickly in a port, there's a chance they don't eat that night, or they don't have the proper income to support their families. So we are very committed in our port. It's something I'm very proud of to make sure, and it's the same in the inland port here, to make sure the trucks get in and out very fast. What does that mean? A truck should spend no more than an hour on our port terminal. There are many parts of the country today that spend 4, 6, 8 hours on ports and congestion. It doesn't happen with us. And to make sure that we're even better at that, we've actually are extending our gate hours to support our growth. So our terminals run from 6 in the morning to 6 at night for trucks. And we're starting to have a Saturday gate on February 7th from 8 to 5 in Charleston. The inland port in Greer actually runs 24 hours a day, again, to support BMW's operation. So we want to be friendly to the trucking community and to make them successful. Because if we don't, in a high employment environment like we exist today, they can sell their truck and go build a house and do something else. We've got to make sure that they make a good income. And now the South Carolina Inland Port, something that I am extremely proud of. And I would love to sit here and tell you that the South Carolina Inland Port was a brilliant example of strategic thinking and thought, and conceptual thought and things of that nature, but I'd kind of be pulling your leg away. The reality of life is we were very fortunate. We had a great customer. We had a base cargo of BMW. To be very clear, the inland port would have never happened without the base cargo of BMW. It's not a build it and they will come strategy. There are a lot of counties in this state, let me tell you, they call me every day, we want an inland port and wherever. And what I basically say is show me a BMW and you'll have an inland port. It's not a smart aleck remark, it's a fact. You've got to have a base cargo to invest this type of money. So we obviously had to have a base cargo like BMW. I got a phone call on the 12th of January, 16th of January in 2012 from the Norfolk Southern Railroad. They said we would like to work with you to get the BMW traffic off of trucks and onto our train system. We said absolutely. We'd owned some land adjacent to the Greenville-Spartanburg Airport for 30 years. Why did we buy that land? Because the Port of Virginia had built an inland port in Front Royal, Virginia in 1983. So we had really land for 30 years, pretty much lying fallow here, thinking we would do something with it one day. So we saw a real opportunity with that initiative from Norfolk Southern to build the inland port in Greer. So we ran with it, and our board supported us. And as I said to you, we spent $50 million rather quickly. And so an idea conceived in January of 2012 was reality at the end of October of 2013. Exceptionally fast. Why is it not dual rail service? People will ask that question. The very simple reason was that you needed an overnight train service to mimic the efficiency of the truck to make an inland port work. And the Norfolk Southern, given the dynamics of their rail route, were the only ones that could make that happen. So that was a critical step. We had a lot of cooperation from Dave Edwards and his team in the Greenville-Spartanburg. We could never, ever, ever have made it happen without them. We needed some land. We needed their cooperation. They moved heaven and earth to help us, and I'm eternally grateful for that, Dave. I know Dave thought we had lost our minds. We called him out of meetings. He was in Colorado. He was pretty fed up with us, I think, at a certain point. But he rolled with us, and we got this exciting thing, done together. We also had a good partner in Centerpoint Properties in Ragnar Benson, their engineering contractor. We needed Centerpoint Properties, as you may or may not know, built the biggest inland port in the world in a place called Joliet, Illinois. Basically, that handles over 2 million containers a year. By the way, it's like the 3rd or 4th biggest port in the country. So we needed their expertise, and so we had them on board as well. We also needed the city of Greer, and I cannot thank the city council of Greer and all the elected officials in this area, the permitting agencies, agencies, etc. Mayor Danner, I don't know where Mayor Danner is, right there. Mayor Danner has been a wonderful partner with us in this project, and I can tell you that it's a great success today, and it's going to be even more successful in the future. So it is, as I said, a team sport, and we work together. And this is a picture of it. You've seen it from the ground, but this is what it looks like from the air. So basically, and we also, interesting enough, we had a naming contest for these RTGs, these lift machines. And we had some of the elementary schools compete. We got some great names out of that, and it was an exciting thing to do. So what sets this port apart, I think it's very innovative. We can ground containers. It has an overnight train service. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it is the convergence of 4 modes of transportation. So at this inland port, you have water service, you have rail service, you have truck service, and you have a great airport, basically, which is cargo served. So that's fantastic. I have a lot of fun with talking to people about ports that don't know a lot about ports. And I was in Charleston, and not that they don't know a lot about ports in Charleston, but this group didn't know like this. So, gentlemen, what river are you deepening to build this inland port? So anyway, I learned that there are actually I think 3 or 4 rivers. There's the Cooper River, the Broad River, and the Henry River. It gets you pretty close to you, but it doesn't get it. That was just the other funny joke. I may as well tell you one. I mean, the other funny joke was I was talking to a group of legislators in Charleston. There's a nice lady named Ann Peterson Hutto, who's from James Island, and I started talking about refrigerated containers, which we colloquially call reefer containers. And she's about a mid-40s, and so she got a big gleam in her eyes. And it's just not as exciting a business as you think it is. We actually do have the potential to do some refrigerated containers by this facility as well. So this facility is very unique. We handled in calendar 14, almost 43,000 rail lifts. That was really our target, was to get to 40,000. We've got over 10 customers. I can't name them, they don't want to be named. Everybody knows it's BMW, I mean, that's no secret. But although the SKD facility was a secret for a long time, but it was hard to hide a 500,000 square foot building. But anyway, so it's really met our objectives. And I think in time, this facility has the potential to handle 100,000 rail lifts. And that would be really important to the airport. Why is this important? Just for selfish reasons as well, because once someone uses this facility, they sort of will continue using it. I mean, it's a great product. It's captive to the Port of Charleston. This rail track from here does not go to Savannah, basically. So when someone is using this system, they're pretty much going to use our port. Interesting from a distribution perspective, and we see a lot of growth in new import distribution centers, which would center on Greer. That's one of the exciting things about it, because there are a lot of new distribution centers coming to support e-commerce and to support the new generation of imports, basically. This particular location where we sit today is within 500 miles of almost a third of the U.S. population. So 94 million people within 500 miles. It's pretty much overnight distribution, so it is an exceptional location to develop distribution of products. And it's right in the middle, pretty much between Atlanta and Charlotte. And this, for us, this is the fastest growing corridor in the Southeast, basically. So it is in a great, it's the old real estate saying, location, 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 and this is really in a great place. So we're excited about its prospects. It's got a lot of benefits. Its benefits on the cost side. It's a very reliable solution. You put a container on a train in Charleston, it's here the next morning, has a low carbon footprint. It has a pretty good balance of imports and exports. We operate the facility, so we control its quality, and we believe that it has a very bright future. But I cannot say enough about the teamwork that went into this project to make it happen. because everybody pulled together. Whatever we needed was done. And it was done with a smile on the face. And I don't know of anywhere else it really could have happened, basically. Like I said, this is a great business community. It's really a tribute to y'all that we were able to get this done. Certainly, Jack Ellenberg ran the project for us. Jack Ellenberg is very familiar. I figure he's very familiar to BW. He was a great project manager, and with the various partners here, we got it done. And Mike Hoffman has been a great manager in the facility. If you have any complaints about the facility, call Mike. He's no, I'm just kidding. Hopefully you don't. But anyway, so this is the type of innovative thing that a port should do. It is to test new concepts and hopefully make them successful. And I would say to you that it's the best investment that I think we ever could have made. So I want to keep you on time. I think maybe I can answer a few questions. If you want to do that, that's up to you, Roz. I know Bill probably. Okay. It's up to y'all. I mean, again, I'm on your time. What I would say to summarize the port, you know, for me is it's the number one strategic asset in the state. In the area of global sourcing and global manufacturing, we have a great port. We have made a good start since 2009 in recovering our volume and getting over the million pure container hurdle. We have an awful lot more to do. If I use a baseball analogy, we're in the second inning of a 9-inning game. We scored in both innings, but we've got a long way to go. We've got to get well over 2 million containers in a reasonable period of time to be successful. And we don't have any time to waste. There's a lot of opportunities out there. We've got an aggressive staff. We pursue them every day. So I'd like to thank you for having me here tonight. I'd like to thank this community for its support of what we did in the upstate. I think linking the upstate and the low country with a physical facility like this was vital. You know, it really showed a sign that this was not just a port of Charleston, this was a state port, and we're committed to making that reality. So thank you very much for your attention.